Um, so welcome everybody, good evening, and happy Earth Month. My name is Cameron Reed. I'm the Environmental Program Specialist for the City of Shoreline. And we are just so glad you're here with us for this first class in our Earth Day Everyday series. And yeah, even though we can't see you all, we can't all be together this Earth Month to celebrate. We're glad that you've joined us. And I'm really excited for tonight's class. We have Brooke Stroosma from Recology King County. She's a waste zero specialist here to talk about recycling, composting, and really do a deep dive into our 3 different bins, and then talk about some ways that we can reduce waste and live a low waste, if not zero waste life. Baby steps toward that. As well as some options for recycling beyond the curb that you may or may not be aware of. And yeah, just some great quick and easy ways to reduce the waste we create in the first place. So super excited to have Brooke here with us. But before we dive in, I just have a couple of housekeeping things to point out. First is that this is a Zoom webinar. So yeah, somebody pointed out in the chat, we can't see or hear you, all of your wonderful faces, but just know that we're glad that you're here. And there is a chat feature, so please do reach out in the chat if you have any questions, and I'll see what I can do to help you. It is being recorded tonight, so if you need to take off early, you'll get a link to the recording via email after the event. And you can also send that to other people. And we will go till about 8:15 tonight. And there's going to be a couple spaces for you to ask questions throughout the presentation. And to do that, I just want to point you to, there's a little Q&A. It looks like 2 speech bubbles, a button. It should be either at the top or the bottom of your screen. And you can also ask a question in the chat. That will be totally fine. So I see, yeah, somebody's already popped a question in. So questions come up to you, just pop them in using the Q&A feature as we go. And the nice thing about that is there's a little thumbs up button, so that you can, if somebody's already asked your same question, you can like it, and that will kind of bump it up to the top of the list. And we'll just take those at those 3 different points I mentioned, and then again at the end. And it looks like we do have 2 call-in listeners, or a couple call-in listeners. So if you're on the phone and you want to ask a question at one of those points, you can press *9, and that will raise your hand to alert me that you have a question. And then I can unmute you, and you can press *6 to actually ask your question verbally. For everybody else, we ask that you just please use the chat or the Q&A. And next slide. So you may have heard we have some compost pails available for Shoreline residents who registered for tonight's session, and there was a little box to check on the registration form. So these are really great little units. They have a charcoal filter to keep the smell down. They have a removable plastic kind of pail liner that makes it easy to go out and empty them. It's also nice because then you don't have to use it with bags. You could just use some paper scraps. And so your instructions to pick these up, you will also get this in an email if you requested one, but you're going to be able to pick these up anytime during the month of April from Shoreline City Hall. So I have the address down there, and you'll have to come by during our business hours. That's when we have folks around who can answer the door for you. So that's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. through 5 p.m. And we're actually going to start that tomorrow afternoon. So if you come by between noon and 5 p.m. tomorrow, and then also anytime during business hours throughout the month of April, you can come by and just give them your name. You can pull off, there's a little pull-off spot there. This is looking on Midvale. Just walk up to the front doors. So don't park around behind in the garage. Try to use this front spot. And knock on the doors, wait for somebody to help you, give them your name and tell them what you're there to pick up, and they will have that for you. And the next thing is that we are also this month, each week, we're going to release a new photo mission for this Earth Day photo challenge. So we're basically building a wall on a photo wall on the website, the shorelinewall.gov/Earth Day, of a bunch of the different sustainable practices that you all are doing and our neighbors are doing and we're doing as a community. And so I'll release that information at the end of tonight's presentation, and it'll also be in the email, the first challenge. But we have some awesome raffle prizes. So if you submit a photo to the challenge, you'll be entered for a chance to win. We have some coffee thermoses that are say Sustainable Shoreline on them. We have these Abigo food wraps, which are like an alternative to that plastic cling film. They're really great, kind of preserve your food even better. And then we also have some Vita or Chico bag, totally 100% recycled content shopping bags, as well as a couple other items. So stick around to the end and you'll also get the instructions in the email that I'll send you. And real quick, I just want to do a little icebreaker poll question. So you'll see a little poll pop up on your screen and encourage you just to answer that. So the question is, how much of the waste that King County residents, excluding Seattle, so this is just outside of Seattle, threw away in 2019 could have been recycled or composted instead? And we'll give people a couple seconds here to submit their answer. You can also throw it into the chat, that's totally fine. See some great questions coming in already. Awesome. So yeah, so most of you, we're neck and neck, 50 and 70%. I'll give just people a second or two more. Okay. I'm gonna shut it down here. So it is actually, those of you who said 70%, you were correct. So based on a 2019 characterization study of waste that King County residents sent to the landfill, about 62% of it was very easily, readily recyclable or compostable stuff we collect in our curbside programs. 8% had some limited recyclability, and there's some things that, it's possible, but just a little tricky to recycle. So all told, 70% of what we currently send to the landfill could have been recycled or composted in some way. And we as a county and as the city of Shoreline have a goal to reach zero waste of resources by 2030. And so, you see right here, just doing a good job of recycling and composting can go a long way to helping us recover those good resources. And then, we can start working on the more difficult 30%. But as we'll hear from Brooke, we also need to just reduce the total volume of waste we create in the first place. So we'll look at, some ways we can do that, but, reducing that waste just keeps, preserves all of the resources that went into creating those products in the first place. So without further ado, I don't want to give too much away. I will turn it over to Brooke here. Oh, and sorry, I see a quick question that what percentage of that 70% was compost? I don't know off the top of my head, but I could pull that data for you. I don't think this study was put out to the public, but I can find that stat for you. So Brooke, take it away.
Thank you, Cameron. All right, let's see. Okay, there we go. Hi everyone, my name is Brooke and I am a Waste Zero specialist at Recology King County. And tonight we're going to be talking about recycling, composting, and then a little bit on how to live a low waste lifestyle. I want to start off the presentation with a little bit of information about who Recology is, just in case there are a few of you out there that don't know who we are. So we are a waste collection service provider.
Brooke, sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing a white screen. I don't know if anyone else is having that.
Okay.
Could you try sharing your presentation one more time?
Yeah. How about now?
Yep, I'm seeing a bit of the outside as well.
Okay.
But we see the trucks.
Is that, it's very odd. Let's do it this way. How about now? How does that look?
Love it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yep, you bet.
So we collect, process, and process recycling, composting, and garbage materials that we collect from your home, from your business, from schools, from multifamily properties, from restaurants, pretty much everywhere. And Recology has a vision of a world without waste. So Recology sees a world without waste where resources are used and reused in a sustainable ecosystem that strives for the best and highest uses of those resources. And this is why we are a little bit different from a lot of the other waste haulers in the industry, because we have this vision of a world without waste. So we place a heavy emphasis on investing in resources to advance recycling and composting technologies. And then we also put a heavy emphasis on educating the communities that we serve. So our headquarters are located down in San Francisco, California, but we serve about 130 communities all the way up from San Francisco up to Shoreline. So we are a West Coast based company, and we're gonna dive right into talking about recycling next. But I think we have a poll question first.
Getting it 1 sec.
Okay. So this poll question is going to be, what are the types of materials that you can put in your blue recycling bin, either at home or at work or while you're out and about? And you can check all the materials that apply to this question, please.
Let me know when you want me to end it, Brooke.
That's probably good.
Yeah, we'll give you 2 more seconds. Okay.
Looks like we got almost everyone. So yes, so there are 5 main materials that go in your blue recycling bin at home. So those 5 main materials are paper, cardboard, metal, glass, and then some types of plastics. So here on the screen, we have all those materials. And I say some types of plastics because not all plastic is actually recyclable in your blue bin at home or at work. So any type of 3-dimensional plastic, this is a bottle, a tub, a jug, or a cup, can go into your recycling bin at home or at work, as long as it's empty, clean, and dry. But any 2-dimensional plastic, so this could be a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag, some bubble wrap, or an air wrap. If you get a pack in the mail, sometimes they come with those plastic pillows. And none of those things can be put into the blue bin, the blue recycling bin at your home. Plastic bags and wrap can often be brought back to the grocery store or to a hardware store, and we'll get a little bit into this later on. I have a slide of a few places in Shoreline where you can bring these items. So our next question is about where your recycling goes after it's picked up by a Recology truck.
All right, I'll end it here.
All right, and there we have on the screen. After your recycling is picked up by a Recology truck, it goes to the Recology Recycling Center. So we often also call this the Material Recovery Facility, or sometimes MRF for short. But our Recology's material recovery facility is located down in South Seattle in the Georgetown neighborhood. And usually I would tell all of you to come get a free in-person tour, but right now we're not able to offer those in-person tours. But we do, however, have a virtual option of our material recovery facility tour. So if you work for a business, or if you're looking for, an activity to do during Earth Month, please feel free to send me an email and we can set up a time to do a virtual MRF tour, because it's really eye-opening just to see all of the material that is coming into our facility every day, and just see, all the amounts of cardboard and paper and glass and metals, and then all of the contamination that ends up in our facility as well. So contamination being things that end up in the blue bin that just really can't be recycled. So I want to give you a little bit of a description about what the kind of process is through our material recovery facility. So this is where everything gets sorted out. This is where, the cardboard gets sorted into one section, and the glass gets sorted into another section. And then after it's all sorted is when we ship or truck those materials off to our different vendors, and then that's when they get recycled. So first the trucks come into this big facility and they just dump all the material on the ground onto the tipping floor. And then we have big loaders who just move that material onto a line. And the first step at the material recovery facility is we actually have employees who are hand pulling off contamination. So they're, picking out plastic bags, plastic film, a bottle that has some liquid in it, or, a food container that still has a lot of food residue on it, and they're just pulling off contamination. Our employees see some pretty crazy things in the facility. We've seen like car doors come through, or bowling balls, or like a whole set of like perfectly put together glassware, which is pretty crazy because you would think like, if you throw that in your recycling bin, it's probably going to get crushed. And then if it gets in the truck, we have, compactors inside the truck, and it probably would get smushed there too, but it just winds up at our facility completely still intact, which is pretty crazy. So I really want to emphasize, again, no plastic bags, no plastic film in the recycling bin. And that's because we have part of our machinery that has these spindles, and this is where paper and cardboard gets sorted out. And so the paper and the cardboard just fly over these spindles, but when, a plastic bag, or even like some clothing or like Christmas lights, those things get wrapped around these spindles, and they slow down the process of sorting by just hours and hours. So we actually spend at the end of an 8-hour shift, we spend about 4 to 5 hours cleaning off these spindles from the plastic bags, the plastic film, and anything else that gets wrapped up in there. So it's really, again, slows down that process. And then after all the material is baled, it gets put on, container vans, or gets put on a truck, and then either gets shipped, down the road is where we recycle our glass from our material recovery facility, but then other materials get shipped around Washington, up and down the West Coast, and then in other areas around the United States and Canada, and then sometimes overseas as well. So, like I said earlier, contamination is a huge problem that we face in the recycling industry. And again, that's just any material that ends up in that blue bin that just can't actually be recycled. So I took some of the common contaminants that we've seen in shoreline over the past few months. And so these items are, the Amazon mailers, plastic bags, pizza boxes, latex gloves, disposable masks, paper towels, and then large bulky items as well. None of these things can be put into your blue recycling bin, and we really want to make sure that those things are all going into their correct bin. So I also want to talk a little bit about a subject called China Sword, or China not taking our recyclables anymore. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this. So the entire United States used to send all of our recyclable material to China in order to get recycled. But we were basically sending them garbage. So we were sending them, shiploads of material that was covered in food. It was moldy, it was all wet. There were tons of plastic bags in there. It was just, not able to actually be recycled. So China said, no more, we're not taking your recyclables. And so, the US has had to find other places around the world and inside the US where we're able to take all of our material. And Recology, we have vendors all across the world and inside the US where all of our material is getting sent. And then we're also putting, a heavy emphasis on education in our communities, as well as we've slowed down all of the lines in our center where our employees can pull off more contamination. So we're really trying to, combat contamination. We have some really cool programs, one actually in Shoreline, a contamination program where we have an employee who goes out and visually audits bins to make sure that everything that's going into the recycling bin is recyclable. So yeah, we're really trying to make sure that that recycling stream is clean. I believe next is another poll question.
Is it this one?
Yeah, yep, that's perfect. Thanks,
Great.
Cameron.
In the polling here in just a second or two. Right.
Awesome. So yes, your recyclables need to be empty, clean, and dry before they go into the recycling bin. If you take one thing away from tonight's presentation, have it be that recyclables need to be empty, clean, and dry before you put them into your recycling bin. It's very, very true. So this image, the clean one, there's no food residue left there versus the garbage where there's honestly still a few more bites to take out in those containers. So the best thing would be to, take a paper towel or a napkin, wipe all that excess food waste out and put the food waste and the paper towel or napkin into your compost bin. Give it a quick little rinse and then give it a few taps against your sink, and that would be empty, clean, and dry enough. So one tip that I usually give out when I'm giving presentations is that, you don't need to run things through your dishwasher or even use soap. It's like I said, just rinse it with a little bit of water, shake it up a few times, 30 seconds, sing happy birthday or something like that. And then empty all the liquid down the sink, tap it a few times against the edge of the sink, and that's empty, clean, and dry enough. So a couple other pieces to recycling or recycling right I'd like to point out are making sure that no shredded paper goes into the recycling bin. Even if it's in a paper bag, we just want no shredded paper in the recycling bin. And this is because it basically acts like confetti. So when it gets inside your bin or our truck or at our facility, the paper just flies everywhere. And so we ask, no shredded paper in the recycling bin. And then again, no plastic bags, no plastic wrap, and then make sure all your recyclables are loose. So if you have a recycling bin in your kitchen and you line it with a plastic bag, as long as you bring that out to your dumpster or to your cart and you empty everything in loose, and then you can just reuse that plastic bag to reline your bin for inside. That's totally okay. Just make sure you empty it loose into the recycling cart. All right, I bet we're gonna have quite a few questions.
Yeah, there are some awesome questions coming in. I really like some of these. And yeah, I just chatted it, but there's some awesome questions coming in on the chat. But if you don't mind, if you're able to use the QA feature, it's just a little easier to track. So we'll try to get to everything, and if we can't, we'll try to send some answers out via email as well. So the first one I'm having here is clean fabric scraps. Question
Yeah,
mark.
so wouldn't be able to go into your blue bin at home, but what you can do is Goodwill. I know for sure, I'm maybe like Value Village also I would call beforehand, but they have a partnership with ThreadCycle. And so if you have a paper bag or a plastic bag and you put all those scraps in there, and then you just write on there like rags or scraps, and bring it to Goodwill, they will bring it to ThreadCycle, and then those the fabric or the cloth will get recycled there.
Awesome. And we do have some good resources, a flyer that has a bunch of those drop-off options. And
Yes.
I'm seeing also a toaster oven, so that would be appliance recycling at a couple different locations.
Yeah. So yeah, you can call Recology to pick up that small appliance, or if it's still in use, you can donate it. But yeah, there's multiple options for those small appliances.
Okay, how about bags that Starbucks coffee beans come in?
Unfortunately, no, those are not recyclable. I would also put in the similar lines, or like a dog food bag, or but yeah, those are both kind of similar in the fact that they have multiple or different layers of different materials. So they're not, not just paper or not just plastic. They, yeah, unfortunately, no, they can't go into the recycling bin.
Awesome. And I have a couple questions about when the Recology store is going to open again. Which I don't think there's anything official out on that yet.
Not anything official out, but things are starting to look a lot better here in King County. So hopefully within the next few months is our wish.
Yeah, and I know you guys are working hard on that, and
No, we definitely are, and everyone will know once we have an official date. We will let everyone know for sure.
Awesome. I have a question. What kinds of metal are recyclable?
Yeah, any type of metal, as long as it's doesn't have like, you could even put like a frying pan in the recycling bin, as long as it doesn't have like an excess amount of like plastic or some other material attached to it, and just make sure it's as clean as possible.
Great. And there's a size limit, right? Like 2 feet is the limit?
It's 2 by 2 by 2, and then, make sure it's not just like a block of metal or something where it's so heavy that the driver or the truck can't, lift it over the side to dump it in.
Cool. Okay, envelope with a plastic window on it, still recyclable?
Yep. Great question. Yep, you don't have to take the plastic window out or anything. Just put the whole thing in the recycling bin.
Okay, and so we have one. Well, there's some service related questions, and I can answer those in an email.
Okay.
So there's a couple about Amazon envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
Some information that says they're recyclable with plastic bags, and I know you're going to get to plastic bag recycling, I think, in a bit.
Yeah.
Are they really recyclable?
We'll get there.
Okay. Okay, let's see. Going back to the chat. Milk cartons with a plastic screw top. I'm assuming that's just like a gallon jug.
Yeah, if it's the plastic gallon jug, that's okay. If it's like the carton that has, it feels like paper, you can throw that carton into the recycling bin as long as it's empty, clean, and dry. Just don't screw that little cap back on. It's okay to leave the plastic spout on it because we don't want you to have to rip that off, but just throw the small little plastic cap into the garbage.
Awesome, thanks. And then there's a couple questions about the chasing arrows, the recycling triangle on the bottom of a lot of plastics, and it has the different resin codes. Can you just speak to that a little bit and kind of, what that means, why it might be confusing?
Yeah. So that chasing arrow symbol or the recycle symbol, it could mean a few different things. So it could mean that it's recyclable. It could mean that it's made out of recycled material. So we really want you to stay away from looking at that symbol or the number inside it. We just want you to recycle plastics by their shape. So if it's a tub, a jug, a cup, a bowl, anything like that can be recyclable. Just don't look at the number or the chasing arrow symbol.
Awesome, thanks. And again, that gets back, the shape issue kind of gets back to the way the recycling facility is designed. And so if it's a flat or a bag plastic, it's really going to mess things up because it's going to want to go with paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Couple questions about wet cardboard. Is that still okay? Or, sometimes you see people's bin lids are propped open or have fallen open while it's raining. How big of a problem is that?
Yeah, I mean, we live in the Pacific Northwest, so it's really hard to get away from any, type of rain or anything like that, water. Sorry. So any, a little bit of water is totally fine. There's really no way of getting around that, just in the area that we live. Can you see my screen?
I'm just seeing a blank, looks like folder.
Okay.
Now it's going to PowerPoint, but I still see the bar on the top.
So a little bit of water is totally fine. If it was some milk that got spilled on there, that's gonna make it super moldy, and we wouldn't want you to put that cardboard or the paper into the recycling bin. But a little bit of water or rain is okay. If you can, if it's raining and you're at home and when the recycle truck driver comes by, if you kind of know the range of time, just bring your bin out right before he comes, or put your cardboard out right before he comes is the best thing to do.
Awesome, thanks. Then there's a couple questions about shredded paper. Are those, is it, what do we know any options for recycling those?
Yeah, so the best thing to do is just, not to only shred things that you have to. If you can, use like a Sharpie to cross off like your name or your address and then toss that into the recycling bin. The unfortunate thing about shredded paper is it can't be recycled and it can't be put in the compost bin. So really, only shred what you have to. If you
Awesome.
have, your own backyard composting, and you know that what you're shredding is just completely paper, it's a good thing to put in your backyard composting, but we don't want it in your green bin or your blue bin at home.
Thanks. And then, yeah, there's some questions here, and I can speak to this a little bit if you want, Brooke, but about, markets and so what happens to recyclables once they go through you guys, once they get sorted into the different types of materials, what happens then? There's someone who referenced like something like 9% of the plastics that get produced are actually end up being recycled. And there was a note about, what are companies doing? And kind of feeling like this all shouldn't be on consumers to deal with it. And just want to say that, yeah, I totally agree. And there's really a growing movement. The whole China sword situation that started back in 2017 that Brooke mentioned has really forced Americans, forced us to try to find a lot more domestic processors. And there's a lot more domestic processing capacity being built. So that's good news. And it has also been pushing a move towards some policy called extended producer responsibility, where actually companies that are making, producing a lot of this packaging would have to pay in to help manage it responsibly. And so that's something that, a lot of Canada has some systems like that. Europe has different countries in Europe have systems like that, but the US doesn't currently. So that's something that yeah, we just really need to think about as a society and head towards, because you're right, it is difficult to manage a lot of this, and currently it's kind of on us as consumers. Do we have time for a couple more, Brooke, before we move to the next section?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. There's a lot of questions here. So again, we'll get to as many as we can, and then answer some via email, but
yeah, any that we don't answer tonight, feel free to. I'll spend a few hours tomorrow or however long it takes, responding to questions for sure.
Okay. Is it okay to put crushed aluminum cans in the blue bin? Do you need to remove
that's totally fine.
Plastic stickers from a can?
No, so yeah, the aluminum cans, if they're crushed, that's fine. Any stickers, like if you have a jar of jelly or something like that, you can leave the label on. Same thing with like a soup can. It comes with a label usually. You can leave that on as well.
Awesome, thanks. And then how about cat food lids? I'm assuming that's like a small metal can with the peel off lid.
Yeah, so that's actually kind of a safety issue. We ask that, if you're either taking that pull off lid, or if you're opening a can and you rip the entire lid, or cut the entire lid off, those edges are pretty sharp. So that we ask that you just put those into the garbage, just because we do have employees who are handling this material. So yeah, that's the answer to that one.
Okay, great. And can we talk about lids for a moment? With a couple questions around lids. I know you answered Tetra Pak. The screw-off Tetra Pak lids should go in the garbage. What about just normal, like say a plastic bottle or a plastic milk jug lid?
Yeah, great question. So as long as it's bigger than your fist or 3 inches, the lid can go into the recycling on its own. If it's smaller than your fist, and you have, a Coca-Cola plastic bottle that has a plastic cap. Those two things are both plastic, so as long as the bottle is empty, clean, and dry, you can screw that cap back on, toss the entire thing into the recycling bin. But if you have, a kombucha that is a glass bottle with a metal or a plastic cap, those are just two different materials. So you would take the small metal or plastic cap and toss that into the garbage, and then throw the glass bottle into the recycling bin.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, man, a lot of material questions here. How about tin foil?
Yeah,
Aluminum foil?
that's a great question. So, as long as it's clean, so if you use, aluminum foil to cover like a loaf of bread, it's easy to like wipe those breadcrumbs off, and then you can toss it into the recycling. But if it touches like other types of food, like if you put it over like a lasagna or like a casserole or something, it's most likely gonna have just like lots of food residue left on it. So if it does, just toss it into the garbage.
Awesome. And the foil, should it be like balled up, or is it okay just like in a big sheet?
It's okay to, be in a sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a couple questions around the Tetra packs or like soup cartons, almond milk, those type of cartons. Just want to confirm those are recyclable.
Yes, they are. Yeah. So all the like almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, or if you get like a soup, like a tomato soup or something like that, those are all Tetra packs, and those are recyclable as long as they're empty, clean, and dry.
Okay. And a question about pizza boxes, if it doesn't have any grease, like some of them have like a little cardboard liner, so that maybe that got greasy and you can compost that. But if there's no grease on the
Yeah.
box?
Yeah, so if like the lid doesn't touch, the pizza at all, or if there's no grease at all, that's okay to go into the recycling bin. Just make sure that there's no grease, no cheese, and then like shake it in your sink or something to get all the like crumbs of like the crust or something out. But yeah, if it's not cheesy or greasy, that's okay to go into the recycling bin.
Yeah. Okay. And just there were a couple questions around this, but yeah, the things that we're putting in the recycling bins, are they actually getting recycled? And yeah, I don't know, Brooke, you want to take that?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit. What could you
Oh,
repeat that?
sorry. There's a couple questions around just wanting to know if the material that we're putting in our recycling bins, how much of it is actually getting recycled?
Yeah. So if you're a Recology customer, all of that material, as long as it's not, contaminated, or doesn't get contaminated, is getting recycled.
Right. And so, yeah, and there's like a little bit of like what they call residual waste. So that's, yeah, anything that's a
Yeah.
contaminant that gets picked out by the sorting process, that does go to
Yeah,
landfill. But the
exactly.
good materials that we're talking about, the glass, cardboard, metal, those plastic tubs, jugs, and bottles all get recycled.
Yes.
Okay. I think we'll move on from here. So we got to get to the other sections, but these are great questions, and we'll try to, like I said, we'll try to answer these via email after the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And you want the next poll?
Please.
Okay. So.
All right. So the next question is, what types of material can go into your compost cart?
All right.
Awesome. Yes. So, all food waste, yard waste, and food soil paper can all go into your green compost bin. So any eggshells, chicken bones, coffee grounds, paper towels, bananas, leaves, sticks, those can all go into your green compost bin at home. One reminder that I do like to add, I know we talked about, maybe a clean pizza box going into the recycling bin, but most of the time they do have, a little bit of cheese or a little bit of grease left on them. And please put your dirty pizza boxes into the compost bin. All right, here we have another question about what can go in or can't go into the compost bin.
Was that about pet waste?
Yeah.
Sorry, I left that one out. I included it as a line on the.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so we'll go back. So pet waste cannot actually go into your compost bin, even if you're using like a biodegradable baggie or a compostable baggie. If it comes from a bodily function from a human or an animal, we do not want that in the compost bin. So if you're super sick and you use like some tissues or paper towel to like blow your nose, we wouldn't want that going into the compost bin. I often get asked, can I put like my hair into the compost bin? And no, we don't want anything that comes from your body to go into that compost bin, just for safety reasons. Yeah. All right. So I think there is one more question about where compost goes after it's picked up.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, we'll give people just a couple seconds here to vote. Speed voting.
Yeah.
Awesome. 2 more seconds. Boom.
All right. Awesome. So yes, your compost goes to a commercial compost facility. And now what? It won't let me go back. Okay, here we go. So this is a picture of what Recology's commercial composting facilities look like, but the city of Shoreline and the rest of King County, your compost goes to Cedar Grove, and there are 2 locations. There's one up in Everett, and then there's one also in Maple Valley, and they look very similar to this photo as well. So all the food waste and the food soiled paper and the leaves, grass clippings, anything like that you put in your green bin goes to these sites, and it actually gets turned back into compost within 6 to 8 weeks. So it's a really, really fast process. Super high, it gets super high temperatures, and that's why it can break down, the eggshells and the chicken bones, anything like that. So yeah, it's a really fast process, and then we get to use that compost, that nutrient-rich compost, on our fields across Washington State, and also in parks or for roadway projects. And then both you and I can also go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot and grab a bag. Pretty cool. So we were talking earlier about how, a lot of the material that goes to the landfill could have been recycled or composted. So I want to talk a little bit about food waste, and just that roughly a third of the world's, food that we produce is not eaten. And composting your food scraps, a little bit of food has such a beneficial impact on our environment. You know, composting reduces greenhouse gases, and also pulls carbon from the atmosphere, and it enhances soil health and structure as well. And then it minimizes the need for any synthetic fertilizers as well. All right, now this is going to be probably one of the hardest questions, the poll questions, because I haven't talked about it yet. But I like to throw this one in there because it is difficult, and the topic is kind of difficult as well.
The dead heat, 50-50. People are of two minds. Okay, well, we'll end it there.
All right. Okay, so this is a really tricky one. So can you put compostable packaging into your green Recology compost bin at home? And no, you can't actually put that compostable packaging into your green Recology compost bin at home. And I know that's a really sad answer to give, but the reason behind it is there are just so many companies and brands out there that use terms like green or environmental or biodegradable or 100% plant-based. And so there's just all these terms that are swirling around out there on, you know, a lot of surfaceware packaging that is really confusing. So we just ask that when you're at home and, you know, you go to, you had been out doing errands or whatever, and you have a compostable plastic packaging, we just ask that, you know, you put that in the garbage and not in your green bin at home, just because there's so much, it's a term that we call greenwashing out there. There's just a lot of confusion about, you know, what actually is compostable. So if you are, you know, out and about at a PCC or a taco time, any commercial space that does use compostable plastic packaging, and you eat there and you know, you finish your meal, you can put those compostable plastic packaging into their compost bin. So again, there are places like PCC or Taco Time or, you know, lots of other restaurants in King County are using the compostable plastic packaging as well. So if you're in that commercial space, feel free to compost it. Yeah, I know it's a pretty unfortunate answer, but that's just where we're at right now. Hopefully in the next few years, you know, we can get more regulations out there about using those terms. If you are interested in learning about, you know, compostable plastic packaging, you really want to make sure that it says 100% compostable or commercially compostable on the packaging, because those terms are, you know, certified to use. So yeah. And then I think we have a test question next. See if you all were listening.
All right. 2 more seconds.
So yes, you can put approved compostable plastic packaging into a compost bin at a business or a commercial space. That's completely okay. So thank you for all listening. All right, questions about composting.
Yeah, so we'll just take a few here.
Take a few, yeah.
There was something to repeat. Did you say you cut out just for a minute when you were talking something about free home or free compost at Home Depot or something?
Not free, but so Cedar Grove does, you know, package their composting and, you know, sells it at Home Depot or Lowe's or other, you know, nurseries or landscaping shops around King County. So that's what I said is you or I could go pick up that compost.
Yes, they sell it. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
they
how
sell
about
it.
the compostable bin liners, like it's certified compostable, but it's like the green plastic liner.
Yeah. So those, if they say 100% compostable or commercially compostable, and you use that like in your indoor bin and then bring that out to your compost cart or dumpster, that's okay. Cedar Grove has a really good extensive list of all of those bags and the companies, the brands that they accept, because like I said earlier, there are companies out there who make those that they aren't actually compostable. So really good resource is Cedar Grove. Just go on their website, and they have a long list of acceptable items.
Awesome, thanks. And yeah, there was a couple questions about cardboard. Can you really put cardboard in the green bin? But yeah, what cardboard do we actually want in there?
Yeah, we only want, if it's completely clean cardboard, if you get a package in the mail, or if you, order something online and it comes in a cardboard box, put that in the recycling. But if it's, has food residue on it, then put that into the compost bin.
Great, thanks. And our solid, how about like if you have some cooking oil or something or like I guess bacon grease or something, fats or grease that has solidified, would that be compostable, or would you put that in the garbage? Okay.
Yeah. As long as it's not like an excessive amount. But if you use like cooking oil, like a full jug of cooking oil to like, if you're having a fish fry or something like that, you can actually call Recology to come pick up that, gallon jug of used cooking oil.
Right, yeah, so another question came in about that. So we don't want just dumping oil into the cart.
No,
it's not really.
if you, you got it. If it's, a minuscule amount, you use a paper towel to like wipe off a pan after you're cooking dinner, that's okay. But yeah, we don't want gallons of oil in there.
Great, thanks. And there's some other questions, but I think we'll try to get to those via email so we can get to the rest of your presentation.
All right, one more poll question. I think it's one back, but
okay, sorry.
No, you're fine. It should be what types of things.
There it is. I found it.
What types of things go into the garbage? Yeah, perfect.
Give people just a couple seconds here. So can't be recycled. I said can't be recycled or composted.
Perfect.
All right, 2 more seconds. There you go.
All right. So yeah, so a few different ways to take this. So we can't, also talk about recycling and composting without talking about garbage as well. So the things that do go into your garbage bin are your pet waste, any, plastic serviceware or plastic straw. If you get a little plastic ketchup packet, those go in there. Latex gloves or a disposable face mask also goes in there as well. And then I do have, styrofoam up here and plastic bags up here. And if you can't bring, your styrofoam back to a place where it can get recycled, like the transfer station or you just don't have time to call Recology to come pick that up, it would go into your garbage bin. And then same goes for plastic bags as well. So if you don't have, time to grab those and bring them to a grocery store to put in a take back bin, then they would go into your garbage bin. All right, now we're ready for that last question. So where does your garbage go after it's picked up by a Recology truck?
All right, 2 more seconds. Got a split between the 2 landfills.
Yeah. All right, well, everyone that answered landfill is correct. It does go to a landfill, but what landfill does it go to? So if you live in King County, except the city of Seattle, your garbage goes to the Cedar Hills landfill. So the Cedar Hills landfill is located about 7 miles outside of Issaquah, on the backside of Tiger Mountain, or Cougar Mountain. I don't remember what it's called. But anyways, it has this beautiful view of Mount Rainier. So kind of, an interesting place for a landfill, which is basically a mountain of garbage, looking at probably one of the most beautiful mountains we have on this earth. So yeah, that's exactly what the landfill looks like. They dig about 700 feet below the ground, fill that all up with garbage, and then fill another 700 feet above the ground with garbage as well. The Cedar Hills landfill is estimated to be completely full, max capacity, within the next 6 to 12 years. So the county right now is trying to figure out, what do we do with our garbage next? Do we ship it to another landfill in the US? Do we do waste to energy? What are our next steps? So if you do live in the city of Seattle and you're listening in on this presentation tonight, I also live in the city of Seattle, and our waste goes on a mile-long double-decker train 6 days out of the week to the Eastern Oregon landfill. So the city of Seattle just creates so much waste that if they had been sending it to Cedar Hills, that landfill would have been closed a long time ago. So yes, your garbage does go to a landfill after it's picked up by a Recology truck. So a few steps that you can take for some special items. Recology actually will provide free pickup of items. So for fluorescent bulbs, used motor oil, and cooking, small batteries, and then camping or cooking propane tanks as well. And we will pick all those items up from your house for free. A lot of these items, you can drop off at the Recology store if you are a customer of Recology when it is open. And like I said earlier, hopefully it will be open within the next couple of months. But if you just, wave your camera over that QR code that's in the top right corner, that will take you to the Recology page, where you can schedule those special item collections. And then there are also, a ton of places in Shoreline as well, where you are able to take different materials to get recycled as well. You can take styrofoam to the transfer station and drop that off there as well. And then plastic film recycling. So like I talked about earlier, There are multiple locations in Shoreline, and you can drop off your plastic bags, plastic film at these locations. This QR code will take you to the types of plastic film that you can recycle. So these are things like a bread bag, a newspaper bag, if you just get a plastic bag from the grocery stores, those types of plastic bags and plastic film can be recycled at these locations. So definitely check out plasticfilmrecycling.com. Use that QR code to scan and visit that website.
Is it .com or .org, Brooke?
.org. Thank you.
Okay, I thought so. I just double checking, and I'll send out a link to that as well as the Recology special item recycling request form. We'll send that out as well. So okay, we got
All
some.
Right, cool. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, so we have some questions here. I'm just trying to sift through them. Do you know, Brooke, on the propane tanks, they definitely have to be empty to recycle. And we're talking about the small camping style cylinders, not the big ones.
Yeah.
But do you know, is there a trick to get the last, there's a tiny little bit of fuel left in there, how to get that out?
I don't personally have anything that comes off or, to my mind right now, but I can ask around and do some research and get back to you all on that question. That's a good question, one I've never been asked. So thank you. Okay. Cool. Stumped me.
And yeah, we'll send out the links to some of these services people are asking for. And yeah, with that, do you want to go to the next?
Yeah, let's. Yeah. I just looked at the time. Should definitely. So the next portion of this presentation, I want to talk a little bit about low waste living. So recycling and composting are, great parts in helping the environment and fighting climate change, but they're not going to stop us from climate change. So one thing that I really, want you all to strive for is having a low waste lifestyle. So low waste is a big spectrum. So, we have people out there or influencers out there who are doing completely zero waste and have all of their waste in a little mason jar. But, that's really difficult. So just really taking small steps to reduce your overall waste is the best thing that you can do. So buying and consuming things that are in focus on low waste. So using up what you have in your pantry or your kitchen, and then buying something that will help you reduce your overall waste later on. So identifying easy changes and swaps for reducing waste. So this is kind of the step after you use all your saran wrap that you have in your kitchen. The next step would be to buy a beeswax wrap or a stasher bag that you can use to you can continue to use over and over again. So look for more sustainable packaging instead of purchasing something in a plastic single-use container. Look for something that's packaged in paper or glass, and then you can, recycle that paper or reuse that glass bottle for a plant or holding flowers or a glass. And then swapping plastic food storage bags for containers that are reusable, like silicone stasher bags, and then using refillable canisters for soap and spices and coffee and grains and other products that you can buy in bulk without the packaging. And then making your own basic cleaning products for your countertops and your windows and your surfaces. And I know that there's a presentation later on in the month with the City of Shoreline talking about green cleaning. So I won't go too deep into that, but definitely tune into that one if you're interested about green cleaning and learning how to not use toxins in your cleaning. And then compost your food waste instead of throwing it away. Replace prepackaged snacks with things that, you know, don't have packaging and are less wasteful. And then cook more meals using fresh and seasonal ingredients and get creative with the use of your leftovers. And then when we do consume, be conscious consumers. So there is very little regulation over eco-labeling. So shop where you trust, shop local, and have the, you know, opportunity to build a relationship with that local business, that local shop, or visit, you know, your local farmers market, and then do your research in the stores that you do shop, and do your research in the brands that you're buying from. And then only buy what you need. Ask yourself, you know, do I really need this? Am I going to use this for the end of time? Is this something that I can use for the end of time? Is it long lasting? Ask yourself those questions before you do purchase something new. And then this is something that talks a little bit about food waste. So learn the difference between sell by, best by, use by, freeze by dates that are on a lot of our food packaging as well. So best used by, this indicates when a product will be best flavor or quality. It's not a purchase or a safety date. And then sell by, this date tells the store how long to display the product for sale or inventory management. And it's also not a safety date. And then use by, this date is the last date recommended for the use of the product while at peak quality. And it's also not a safety date, except for when it's labeled on infant formula. And then freeze by, this date is indicated when a product should be frozen by, or you know, to also maintain peak quality, and it's not a purchase or a safety date. So all of these, you know, sell by, best by, freeze by, use by dates, with the exception of the instant formula, are if the date passes and while you have it in your house, the product should be able to stay safe and wholesome if handled properly. And you can usually tell when food spoils, or it will usually develop an odor, or you know, a different color or a texture, and that's due to bacteria. So just watch out for those few little things, and you know, try and prepare yourself when you do go to the grocery store, and write down, you know, exactly what you need, and look for, you know, products that might last you a little bit longer. And then when you do bring all your groceries home from the grocery store, make sure that you're putting it in the correct locations where, you know, it's going to keep those fruits and those vegetables have the longest shelf life. So putting, you know, crisper vegetables and fruits in the bottom of your refrigerator, and then leaving things like bananas and other fruits out onto the table, and just, you know, making sure that you look in your fridge or your cabinets before you go to the store, to make sure that you're not purchasing things that you already have. So sorry, that was a little quick running through all that, but I don't want to, you know, go over time and let everybody enjoy their evenings. But we might have a time for a couple of questions, but happy Earth Month, everyone, and I hope you get to get outside this month and just enjoy the nice weather that we've been having here in King County. And I hope you all learned a little bit about recycling and composting tonight.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brooke. Really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you everybody for these great questions. One question I will take is, where can we email you more questions?
Yeah, of course. That is like my favorite thing ever, is like coming into, or, you know, opening my computer or going into the office and having like what goes where questions. So I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. And if you do have like a specific question about an item, the best thing that you can do is like take a picture and email it to me, just because I get these like crazy descriptions of items and I'm like, what is that? So if you're confused about something and you want something, a specific answer, try and take a picture of it and you can email me.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Just trying to think if there's any other questions. Yeah, I do just want to highlight what Brooke was saying. The stat about food waste in the US is crazy. It's something, it was something like an average American family of 4 spends like $1,400 a year on food that they don't eat. And when you think about it, we talked about that 70% that's currently going to the landfill. A bunch of it's compostable. So we want to compost, all those food scraps, but we don't want to be wasting food in the first place. Like that's just so much. If we can prevent that food waste, then we don't have to deal with it, and you're not wasting all of the resources that went into creating that food. So, and it's huge for climate change. It's just big on a lot of levels. Socioeconomically, we have a lot of hungry people in our communities, so it's just waste on so many levels. So with your compost pails, I actually have included a food storage guide that's kind of similar to the one she showed, but it is a fold out thing. You can keep it on your fridge, and it kind of walks through a bunch of different storage tips for different types of food. So again, yeah, just so glad that you mentioned that, Brooke. And I also included in the compost kits, there'll be a little flyer that has a lot of sort of those weird items that don't go in our curb bins. Where can you take them? So that, and the caveat there is just, with COVID, a lot of places are really sensitive to taking things back. So, somebody mentioned that one QFC wouldn't take plastic bags. So it's always a good idea, especially right now, to call ahead if you can. But yeah, we really appreciate you being with us tonight. And I just want to share our raffle info before we leave. So bear with me while I reshare. So our raffle this week is, we want to see one thing that you do to reduce waste. So that could be, maybe it's a special item recycling, but it could be, do you use a reusable water bottle or coffee mug? Do you, choose the wonky fruit instead of, the better looking fruit at the grocery store, reusable bags? There's a bunch of ideas, and I want to point out, if some of you might have already heard about the Shoreline Climate Challenge, but there's a website there, and that's where I pulled a bunch of these actions from. It's a really comprehensive sort of sustainability guide. And so we want, send a photo in to my email. You'll be getting an email from me tomorrow that has the recording and a bunch of these resources. So you could just respond to that with your, reduce waste photo, something that you do at your house to reduce waste, and we will enter you in the raffle. And again, thanks. There's so many questions that we didn't get to, so I apologize for that. And we'll do our best to compile those. It might take me a little while, so it might not be included in the first follow-up email, but we'll try to compile those and make sure we address them. So with that, I just want to highlight our next webinar, which is next week. We're covering home composting. So we have some experts from Seattle Tilth that will cover how to set up a backyard bin, or doing a worm bin that could actually be done, like if you live in an apartment and maybe you have a little porch or patio, or some people are adventurous and do it indoors, but got some great options for you there. So it should be a really fun, engaging course, and we hope you tune in. That one is on a Wednesday, so it's next Wednesday, again at 7 p.m. You can follow that same shorelinewa.gov/Earth Day link, and you'll be able to register for that session as well. So Brooke, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And everybody, thanks for being with us.